GameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3, 9. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It was pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios. And, of course, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. D-Mase, Willy D, I loved seeing your slide skills on display last night. Willy hosted Stars Trivia at Boombazi's last night, and for the kids, Willy and D-Mase slid down a completely ice-covered slide.
Yes.
And it was a sight to see. I do have a video to show the people. So good to see y'all today. How we doing?
Yes, and thank you guys for coming out last night and supporting
Absolutely.
Stars. Thanks to Cliff McCardle and our entire staff here at 102.5 The Game for helping us promote the event. It was a fun night. Hope you guys had fun.
Had a blast.
We did.
And that was off script. Fig, we have a lot of events we have over the years. D-Mase, I remember the AFC Championship game when the Titans lost to the
Yes.
Chiefs. You and I were over there doing a show. And then the whole place was knocked down by the tornado and then rebuilt in 2020. So they've been through a lot. But Fig's been through there the entire time. He sort of took over last night. He offered, if anybody would make a donation to Stars of $100, that D-Mase and I would go down the ice-covered slide. So D-Mase and I did it for the money, for the cause.
Went down the ice luge.
It was an ice luge, so we're thinking about going after a Winter Olympics bid.
Yeah, I think we can bobsledding.
Bobsledding,
Yeah.
the luge. I think, all
we
these.
We can do it.
You two are cool runnings in and of itself. Well, thanks for bringing us out, Willy. It was a blast.
Yeah,
and I'm
that
excited
was
for the
great.
next one. I want to get into this because it's the Senior Bowl week, and we know there are GMs and head coaches there, head coaches across college football, head coaches across the league. Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel are both there. Jim Wyatt is there as well. So Jim Wyatt sat down with Mike Vrabel yesterday in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl and was asking him about what are you looking for, what are you here for, so on and so forth. Now, I have said so many times, I believe that I speak fluent Vrabelese, if not quite fluent, close to fluent. But sometimes I have to question my own Vrabelese. Sometimes I ask myself, am I looking too far into this? Am I trying to find some Vrabelese in whatever he is saying? Or is Mike Vrabel really actually telling us a whole lot without really telling us anything? So I'm reading through this article this conversation between Jim Wyatt and Mike Vrabel, and you can find this article. It's up at TennesseeTitans.com. Jim Wyatt doing a great job, as he always does. And Jim Wyatt asks him about some things that he is looking for. He's talking about some of the interviews. What do you look for in the interviews? And Mike Vrabel mentions, we're looking for guys who talk, who say the right things, but it's not just saying the right things. It's about doing the right things as well. And he talks about we're looking for guys that, are dedicated, guys who love ball. Of course, all of the Vrabel things, the Tennessee Titans culture core kind of things. And then he talks about guys that are strong at the line of scrimmage and guys who run good routes. And I thought, well, that's pretty interesting. When Mike Vrabel's talking about what he's looking for at the Senior Bowl, and he's talking about guys who are running routes and guys who are strong at the line of scrimmage. And to be fair, the top quarterbacks in this draft aren't at the Senior Bowl.
No.
C.J. Stroud's not a senior. Bryce Young is not a senior. Will Levis declined the invitation.
Hendon Hooker's there, but he can't do anything.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker can't do anything. And Will Levis not accepting the invite to the Senior Bowl is a bad taste in my mouth for Will Levis. But that's a different story for a different day. And then I read this. Mike Vrabel says, I think you're always trying to get faster, which is something that he has mentioned so many times. He mentioned it in his postseason press conference. He mentioned it in his press conference the day that Rand Carthon was announced as Titans general manager. He says, and I think you're always trying to be good at the line of scrimmage. Okay, Interesting.
Yes, very.
Vrabel says you see teams that are still playing have elite quarterbacks, but there's an element of speed and playmaking on those teams as well. Reading through what Mike Vrabel said about being fast at the line of scrimmage, being really strong up front, saying, yeah, other teams have elite quarterbacks, but they also have these other things. I think Mike Vrabel might have just given away his number one priority and what he is looking for at the Senior Bowl and what the Titans' number one priority is this offseason, and it's offensive line. Playing fast on the offensive line, playing strong on the offensive line.
Yeah, I think, and those were two of the, sort of issues with the Titans this whole season. Whether it be the offensive line because of the injury or the receivers because of the injury, or the receivers, couldn't get separation, minus Treylon Burks. And when he says speed, I look at it a little bit different. I think a lot. You're interviewing these guys throughout the week. You want to see how they but how they pick up on concepts quickly, because you only got less than a week really to absorb this playbook, and then go out there on the practice field and in an actual game, and display your talent. So to him, I think it's all about not necessarily foot speed, but it's, okay, are these young men learning these concepts quickly, which allows them to play faster when they're on the field? Again, everybody doesn't run a 4-4. Everybody doesn't run 4-3. There's only a few that run 4-2s. And to me, speed ain't everything, because I can point you to a lot of guys that got a lot of speed but are not playing or hasn't made the NFL. Speed to me is learning that playbook, being able to go out there and play and not think. That speed to me is mental speed, which equates to foot speed to me. Because if I'm thinking about what I'm doing, I'm not playing as fast as I can. If I go out there and I've learned that playbook and I know what to do, then I'm playing. I'm just going. You don't see any hiccups. You don't see any hesitation. When you don't know that playbook, the fastest guy will be slowed down. Why? Because he's thinking about what he's doing.
That's a really interesting concept you're talking about, Derek, and I hear a direct parallel when I hear the coaches talk about the Predators, that they're playing faster. One of the reasons that they've come out of the hole to a degree, they're playing faster, and it doesn't have to do with just how fast of a skater you are. And I do think the theme that you picked up on, Caroline, is right, because I heard Mike Vrabel say, I think his quote was at the end of the year press conference, I didn't watch us play enough and say to myself, we're the faster team. He felt like the other team was faster too many times this past year. So you're right, Derek. It's not necessarily just your 40 time, but you got to be able to play faster. You got to be the quicker team. Explosiveness. Like A.J. Brown, I don't know what he ran the 40 in, but I know when A.J. Brown catches the ball in stride, he is really, really good, and he just popped up on our TV screen right now, at just exploding from the point of the catch, getting by that first guy, and getting accelerated into the second level. So it's not like he catches the bomb every time. It's not just the old Oakland Raiders, you got to attack and stretch the defense.
Verticals.
That's part of it. Right, the vertical is part of it,
yes,
but
it is.
It's also guys who, can take a 5-yard hitch, make a guy miss, and accelerate and turn it into explosive plays. The Titans lack that on the field for sure. I
can look at guys, and we can go down to the most noticeable guy. Obviously, it's Jerry Rice. He ran a 4.5, sub 4.5 in the combine. But when you watched him on the field, he played faster than everybody else. Why? Because he knew exactly what he was doing, knew exactly where he needed to be, played with confidence. Anquan Bolden, he probably was a 4.6 guy, but if you watched him on the field, he played faster than what his time was. Why? Because he understood and knew what he was supposed to be doing out there. Hell, myself, I ran a 4.5 flat in the combine, but I played a lot faster. Why? Because I knew what I was doing. There was no hesitation. There was no thinking. I read the defense very quickly and got into my route. So foot speed is good. It's good to have foot speed, But if you have that foot speed and don't know what you're doing out there, then it neutralizes you because you're not going to go out there and play with confidence. You're not going to go out there and play 100%. Why? Because you're thinking about, am I doing the right thing? Am I going to make a mistake? And it's just a lot of hesitancy in your play.
Rand Carthon talked to Mike Keith at the Senior Bowl, and I don't have the clip, but he said something along the lines of, if you invite me over to your house and we take our own separate cars, you're going to get there faster than me because you know the route. You know how to get there. I got to plug in my phone, and then I'm looking down at my phone, looking like, okay, I need to turn left in 400 feet. Is that past the light? Is that not past the light? So same kind of idea.
Exactly.
That when you know what you are doing, when you have your assignment, you get there faster, and you don't need to think about it. You just do. And I know that can apply to any position. That can apply to guys running their routes. That can apply to the quarterback. That can apply defensively. But just everything combined, to me, I think that's the takeaway that I got from this sit down between Mike Vrabel and Mike Keith.
So, Caroline,
Yeah.
Should we assume, and Willie, by them saying that, even Vrabel saying that